Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Western North Carolina fishing report with Dale Collins of Tuckaseegee Fly Shop. How's it going, Dale?
Pretty good, Marvin. Pretty good. Just hunkered in the house, sitting by the fire with you, man.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have got what we now call seasonable winter weather in your neck of the woods.
That's right, man. Winter has finally showed up. I think the 65 degree days we're not going to see for a while here, at least for the next couple weeks, and we're seeing daily shots of snow 4,000 feet and up. So certainly those higher elevation brook trout streams are going to be pretty much out of question. So it's really time to focus on the tail races and those lower elevation valley creeks, but mainly I think it's going to be a Tuckaseegee game and a low elevation game.
Got it. And, given your weather patterns, how close do folks need to fish to the dams to make sure that they're going to have a good shot at catching some fish?
Yeah, you don't have to be necessarily too close. For the month of January, the Nantahala Duke Energy, it does not run water out of the pipe and actually spill it out through the top of the dam. So that's kind of irrelevant there for the Nantahala. The Tuckaseegee, we're about 20 miles, I believe, from the closest dam. There's two dams on the Tuck. So by the time that water gets here, let's say you've got a 30-degree day, that water's going to come through still in the 40s. So, it's not necessarily a morning game either. You might as well wait and just make sure you're out there during the prime, 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock warmest parts of the day.
Got it. And any tips for folks on tactics?
I would just go ahead and for the most part, start with double nymph rigs under an indicator if you're like out on a big river like the Tuck. Tippet wise, start with 5X, and depending on the clarity of the water, you may have to go down to 6 or 7. Because a lot of the times the colder the water is, the clearer it can be. You can have, a larger anchor fly, keep it natural, like a Prince nymph or hare's ear, big pheasant tail, but certainly be able to throw that smaller, really technical stuff if you need to. And that also might mean changing your indicator. For example, I don't like fishing midges like, 18s and 20s underneath a trapped air indicator like an airlock or a thingamabobber. I'll switch over to a foam or a fur New Zealand style indicator if I'm throwing something that light. So keep that in mind too, because if it's going to be that technical, then those fish aren't going to want to see the splash from a big bobber.
Yeah, it also creates a lot of resistance. You'll actually miss the take a lot of times if you use a big thingamabobber or something like that. That's right.
And also keep in mind too, with some of these higher water levels that we've got with some of the rains, the broader the profile of a fly. So, for example, the girdle bug may actually, even if it's got weight on it, sink slower through the water than, let's say, a number 14 or 16 Frenchie. So the lower the profile of the fly and smaller the tippet, you'll have a quicker sink rate. So keep that in mind too as you're fishing some of these deeper pockets and pools and these eddies, and see if you can get down faster.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. And we've also got a question from John, and he wants to talk about, when is it really too cold to go fishing, and was really kind of asking about water temperature, because I know in your neck of the woods with the tail race, you've got kind of an interesting dynamic about how air temperature relates to the water. But in general, when did the fish really turn off when it gets cold enough and their metabolism really just shuts down?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. We've seen that vary from creek to creek, but for the most part, I think it kind of depends on how close you live to the water as well. I've living in Western North Carolina. I've got a rule that if the rhododendrons are curled, I've got better days I can fish besides today. So, and that if the rhododendrons are curled, usually that means the temperatures aren't above freezing. So, for air temperature. Water temps, you really see trout metabolism hit the brakes around that 40-degree mark. So they're not going to move very far to eat. The saying "you got to hit them in the nose" comes into play. Then they'll eat still, but it's just not. They're not going to move and work for it like it would if it was in the 50s. So we saw Cataloochee Creek last week on a cold snap. We were down into the low teens. We saw Cataloochee Creek hit, or it might have been Ravenspark. You can't remember which gauge it was. It hit 32 degrees. So at that point, that 32 degrees for a water temp, don't waste your time really on that for around here. Out west, that's a totally different ballgame because it might be 32 degrees all the time and those fish get used to it. But for us, it's the swing that really shuts them down, and those fish just are not used to that cold. So, if you're on the tail race, certainly most of the time, like on the Tuck, if it's in the 40s, you should be okay. But don't expect 50 count days. Don't expect 50 fish days on a delayed harvest, even in January. If you do, then the stars have just lined up for you, and it's perfect. And congratulations. But just be happy with what you find out there. So there's a saying that the big ones have to keep eating. So you're kind of out there looking for the bigger fish.
That's really good advice. And, folks, keep the questions coming. If you'll send them to us on the Articulate Fly Facebook page, if we read your question, I'll send you some Articulate Fly swag and you'll get entered into a drawing. And we're actually going to draw for all the folks that ask questions this season of Dale and the Tuckaseegee Fly Shop folks. Dale, why don't you let folks know what we're going to draw for next week?
Yeah, man, we're gonna have a gift card. I think we're gonna do somewhere around 25 to 50. Something like that for in the shop, and you can call us and use it, or you can come by either of the shops in Bryson City or Silva.
Yeah, so folks, tune in for the next fishing report with Dale, and you'll find out who the lucky winner is. Before I let you hop, why don't you let us know where the shops are located, where we can find them on the internet, and what your winter hours are?
Absolutely. So we are 3 Depot Street in downtown Bryson City, right on the corner of Everett and Depot Street. Big brown trout statue out front. And then downtown Silva, right on Main Street, down from the beautiful courthouse that overlooks town. And certainly on the internet, tuckflyshop.com, and social media, tuckflyshop. Let's see, what else was that question? Where you can find us?
Yeah, I think we hit it all.
Sweet. Cool.
Yep. Perfect. Well, listen, tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Dale.
You too, Marvin.